Hello and welcome back to Rue's Life on this wintry morning. It's actually quite overcast, but it is dry at the moment. The bulk of the morning jobs, tasks if you will, I'm loath to call them chores really, or tasks, because everything that we do here on the smallholding or homestead I really enjoy. We both do. It's a way of life. It's what we do. This is a hobby farm. It's certainly not somewhere that we make money. So everything that we do here we enjoy. So all the animals and the growing and even the maintenance of fences and fields, it's a hobby. We enjoy it and we fit it in around our full-time jobs. So as I say, the first early morning tasks have been done. Chris did those before he went off to work, and now it's time for the next phase of jobs. So I'm here in the feed area and I'm going to get feed ready for the horses and the sheep. The chickens have already been fed, but I will check on them and check for eggs. What are you doing, cheeky chaps? So that's Victor the tortoise fed. Now, I know what a lot of you might be thinking, why is he not hibernating? And there's a number of factors for that. So if you are a tortoise keeper or you're thinking of having tortoises, do look into the breed that you've got. Victor is a Horsefield tortoise, and in ideal circumstances, yes, he would be hibernating by now. But as he's new to us, we don't know his history, we want to get to know him a little bit. It's been incredibly mild up until the last really week or so. We're actually keeping him awake this winter, and we'll start hibernating him from next season. So his little house that you've just seen him trundling into is kept at a really nice ambient temperature. We make sure it's well over 11 to 15 really degrees. It kind of sits at an ambient temperature around 18 degrees. He has a ceramic heater in there overnight and he's closed in. He has a basking lamp and a UV lamp through the day, and he's getting 12 hours of UV every single day. You can see there he was tucking into a little bit of food, so he's eating well, although his food is for growth rather than for energy. He's getting his energy from the sunlight that he gets when he comes out and from that UV lamp inside. He's got various other fixtures and fittings, but you're not here for a tortoise lesson. I just thought I'd drop that in case any of you wondered why. In the middle of winter here in the UK, I've got an active tortoise. So let's get on and feed these impatient sheep and get the horses and the pony fed, checked and watered, and then we'll move on to the chickens. Hello, handsome boy. Good morning. So here in North Wales, because we're right on the borders, chicken full lockdown is not upon us, which is why you can still see our girls free ranging. And we do keep a very close eye on the government guidelines, and as soon as we need to, they will be closed in. But we're going to give them as many days as we can out. So I'm just checking their bedding. We're getting less eggs now. You'll see that some of them have gone into molt, which is why they're looking a bit scruffy. We've got one egg today, and that's about average for this time of the year. Their food and water is all under cover, and we make sure that we feed them quite early in the morning and hang around to make sure there's no wild birds accessing their food or water or coming in while they're eating, and everything's getting thorough disinfectants, and we don't have anybody visiting on or off, or certainly not into this area, that also have birds. So we're sticking quite rigidly to the guidelines, and all the biosecurity measures are in place. So that's my one little egg. We get about one egg a day at the moment, sometimes more, but you know, the daylight hours are shorter, and that's to be expected. So for those of you that may be new to my channel and you've predominantly been here for the gardening, I do live on a small holding or a homestead. We've got 10 acres here, and with that comes our livestock, which essentially are all pets. But I'm now going to just grab a cup of tea, and I'm going to hop over to the plot, to the garden, and have a little look around and start planning the jobs that I might be able to get done today. Good girl. It's actually quite mild here today. It's about 13 degrees in the polytunnel and about 11 degrees outside, and it only dropped to about 7 degrees last night, so it's still quite mild, although we have been having some much colder nights, and there are colder nights ahead. So the horses will be being switched into thicker rugs soon, and we will up their feed. The chickens, as I say, we're just going day by day until they have to be completely closed in. Still lots going on here over at the plot or the garden. I've got a little list. Anybody that watches me regularly will know I am a stickler for lists, so I'm not going to bore you by going all the way through it, but there's quite a few jobs on there. Certainly not going to get them all done today, but I will leave that here in my shed so I can refer to it when I come in, just to jog my memory. So those of you that follow me will know that I have been quite poorly. I'm not going to bore you with all the details, but suffice to say I came down with COVID, and it's been a month now, and I'm still I'm hoping to go back to work next week, so I'm doing a little bit more each day, but I am pacing myself. So I haven't been doing as much as I normally would, but you know, it is what it is, and we get done what we get done. So long as the animals are looked after and we're okay, then that's all that matters. So I'm feeling so much better. I'm still a little bit slower than I normally would be, but it's just great to be feeling better than I was, certainly better than I was. And you know, anybody that's been suffering from this post-COVID or long COVID, really have my sympathies. It's really tough. It's pulled the rug from under me, and I am aware that, you know, it could be, my GP's advised it could be anything up to 12 weeks or longer before I'm fully recovered. So I'm just having to be a little bit careful. So the jobs that I really want to get done today, while it's still mild, is I want to sort out that strawberry bed, and I'll do a video on that for you as a separate video. And I've got a few other bits and bobs, just a little bit of harvesting and a little bit of pottering. And then the middle bed of the beds 1, 2 and 3, which are the 3 next to the polytunnel, the middle bed there, so bed number 2, really does need prepping for winter now and spring. So I want to get that weeded, get any of those onions out, and then I'll mulch that bed over, and then it's ready for spring. And I will be resting that bed. So I kind of I don't rest all the beds because I like to keep things going, but that's a bed that will get rested this season. I'm certainly not going to get all of that done today, but I can make a good start. So it's actually so mild that I know I'm going to overheat. I've taken a few layers off. I've got my trug, my trowel and my gloves, and I'm going to start tackling certainly this end of this bed and get everything out. So I did say I was only going to do a section of this bed, but I had the radio on, I had Radio 4, I was listening to Desert Island Discs, and I just kept going. So I'm really chuffed that I've got that done. I've got the bulk of the really big weeds out. Now there will still be a few roots and weed seeds in there, but as you can see in this bed next to me, I will be mulching it over. So I'm going to be collecting up more of the autumn leaves, putting a really good layer of leaves down, and then mulching over the top of that with cardboard, and that will really suppress those weeds between now and spring. And then sometime through the winter months I'll probably add in some used chicken bedding, and then finally I will put a little layer of compost, about 1 inch or so of compost over the very top, and then it'll be ready for planting. So that's the weeding done. I really think it's time for a cuppa, and then I'm going to hop inside the polytunnel and do a few jobs in there. So keep watching if you want to see what's going on in the polytunnel. Oh, I've earned this cup of coffee. So it's been really wet of late. So one of the disadvantages of me weeding that bed later than I normally would is just everything is so muddy, and my gloves are laden and heavy with mud. I've given my trowel a good clean, and I've also hosed out the trug while that mud was still soggy, because it's just much easier than leaving it to dry. But one of the advantages of weeding this bed later on, while it's so soggy, is that those weeds came up a lot easier than they would if they were in, baked in soil at the end of the summer months. So, it's pluses and minuses, isn't it? So I'm just going to drink up this coffee, and then let's get into the polytunnel. So here in the polytunnel, there's still lots going on, and one of the things I've done is this netting, which is from the fruit bed. I'm hanging it here. It's got lots of bits and bobs in it, and it's still quite soggy, so I'm going to leave that to dry out, and then it'll have a really good shake out and brush before I fold that and store it away. And one of the things that it's really good to do as a gardener over those winter months, even if you're still growing, is to tidy and clear areas, and anything that you're not using, pots and tools and things like this netting and your canes. It really is worth spending that time drying things out, cleaning things and storing them, because it's going to give them that longevity. They're going to last you so much longer. I've got things that I've had for years just because I've taken that time to look after them through the winter months. So I am starting to flag a little bit now, but I just want to get one more job done. So these chilies behind me, I'm going to get those harvested and then I'll chop them and freeze them, and then we've got them for eating later. So it's not the best chilli harvest in the world, but there's a few chilies there and they'll certainly add a little bit of flavour to some meals. I really hope you've enjoyed spending the morning with me here on our little farm, pottering about and doing the things that make me happy. As ever, thank you so much for watching. If you have enjoyed this video, there's one coming up on the screen right now that I think you'll enjoy, so please go ahead and watch that. But for now, take care and I'll see you all again soon.